He's there in front of the shower like he's very happy about it. Hair's all slicked down, and it's not like you normally see him. And boy, he's white as a ghost, isn't he?
But to go back to that middle era, meaning after the times where you were fighting over food just to eat that day, but before the times of social media. So let's just keep it on a more micro level. Talk about the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, where you saw these quote unquote recreational killers and things like that pop up, and violence in regular society shock people that an individual could stoop to such levels of evils. I think there's three factors, and they all go hand in hand, driving each other, feeding each other in a way. One, environment, which doesn't mean you have to grow up poor or something like that. Maybe your dad was abusive. Two, psychological wiring. Maybe you are more wired psychologically to have X, Y, or Z disorder that disassociates you from other people in potentially sick ways. And then three, time and comfort, which I'm combining as one. And what I mean by that is, in 1800, there's no electricity. You had to go out and you had to kill dinner.
Yeah.
You had to survive.
Yes.
There wasn't time to think. There wasn't time to wonder about, well, why does Mr. Jones down the street have a house that's 3,000 square feet and I have one that's 2,100? There wasn't time to bullshit at, around the water cooler at the office, at the job you hate but you go to because that's what you're supposed to do. And something about us moving from the wild of surviving that all other animals besides us on the earth have to do every day, where last I checked, there aren't a ton of serial killers across species. There's violence across species to survive, but it's not like we see a BTK of fucking even lions or whatever all the time. Maybe some of the environmentalists out there can correct me on that, but it's like, we have developed from having to fight for things out in the wild to live under fluorescent lights and think about things. And something about that, being in a room and having time to ourselves to think, can drive some people to go in all the wrong directions.
I think so. A lot of spare time, too much spare time, maybe on our hands. Idle hands are the devil's workshop, they say. And it's something I live by. That's why I always try to stay busy. So, but yeah, I think so. And plus, you see what everybody else has, I think, now. And it to me, this, and listen, I think that when it's all said and done, social media is going to play a big role in this horror show out in Idaho. We can't fully appreciate it now, but as the layers are being peeled back from these cases, it's not a single case. These are cases because these are individuals. These are somebody's babies. As this is peeled back, we're going to understand the depth and breadth of it. You were talking about referencing the Papa Rogers thing. And, we've heard conversations about this for a protracted period of time. Was it him that was doing this? Was he teasing all the way along? One thing that really stands out in my mind, Julian, again, this was in the data dump that came out, I guess over a month ago now, is there's that picture of him standing in front of his bathtub.
Where he's thumbs upping?
Yeah, and his hair is, and when you take a look at it, maybe it's just me, I don't know, but when you take a look at it, his hair is combed over and parted on one side, and it looks wet. Almost like I've shed my skin. I've shed those things that I was wearing. Now I'm standing here with my fancy smancy little shirt on. It's buttoned all the way up to the collar. I'm pleased with myself. I'm getting a thumbs up. I'm showered and I'm ready to hit the road again.
Yeah.
And, I look at it, and he is such a freaking reptile.
Yeah, exactly.
When you see that. And that's in the wake of what has just happened, just so that we understand that. As a matter of fact, I think that when that image was taken, if I'm not mistaken, the bodies had yet to be discovered. So that gives you an idea.
It's totally fresh.
Yeah, it is. And it's almost like, I don't know. I mean, tell me what you think. You see it, he's there in front of the shower like he's very happy about it. Hair's all slicked down, and it's not like you normally see him. And boy, he's white as a ghost, isn't he? White as a ghost.
It's easy to say on anything, hindsight 2020. How could you not have seen? But that was, you remember the first picture they released of him in the bulletproof vest from the jail. If we can pull that up, Joe. I remember seeing that like the night he was, or I don't know, the day after he was apprehended. Whenever I first saw it, like within 24 hours of him being caught. And you look at this and you look into his eyes. There are no lights on. There's no one home. That is like, I'm not one of these people that believes in like demons and demonic and stuff like that. Like people throw those terms around a lot online. I mean, who the hell knows? Maybe it is real. I'm open to it, but I've never been one to really subscribe to that. But I remember seeing that for the first time and going, he doesn't look human.
Yeah, he's got, I think that, one of the things that psychologists do is when they interview people, they're also looking for body language and that sort of thing too. And I'd be interested to know how he could vocalize things, because I'd want to know if he has what they refer to as a flat affect. Where it's just very monotone.
Oh, I'll bet he does.
Piercing looking.
Yep.
And he's got this reputation as well. It's like, he's the smartest. He thinks he is the smartest person in the room.
Yep.
That's one of the reasons he didn't get along, certainly with the people out in Washington. Now, what's gonna and I hope that this comes out. I'm going to be very curious to see what his relationship was like with the people at DeSales, particularly at the graduate level. What his interaction as he's kind of evolving as a student. Was he building up to this crescendo where it's like, okay, well, I've learned all I can possibly learn from you people. Now I am the smartest person in the world, and I'm going to go out and make my name out in Washington State.
James Patterson had one of his guys that he went to school with at DeSales on their interview, and he had a lot of interesting tidbits. Among them were he worked on group projects with him, and one thing is he said he was a great person to work on group projects with. He was really smart, very nice, a little different, a little distant, but meaning when the kid was talking about it, he was making it clear he didn't have those red alarms, hindsight 2020 I just mentioned, going off in his head, which was interesting to me, because then he went on to explain, among other things, that, he would invite Brian out socially, to hang with the boys. He said he would never take the invite, ever. And, this guy just figured he's a loner. He doesn't really, isn't really around people. But it's not like, no, not every loner is a serial killer.
No, they're not.
Or a mass murderer or something like that. But when you think about it now, it's interesting that he would have been described as like a good, partner on a group project, like, meaning this kid was implying that he had some interpersonal skills. Obviously, he was a little behind the eight ball, but he wasn't dead to the world, just looking at you like, just give me the answers, man. There was nothing in this kid's experience that would point that out, and by extension, it seemed like, and I don't know this for sure, he was insinuating the other people who worked with him as well didn't seem to have that inkling either.
Well, maybe he's the one kid on the group project that would take charge and do everything for everybody else.
That could be it, too.
He's toting the water for everybody else because he thinks that he is the smartest guy.
And in control when he does that.
And in control of it, yeah. And I got to tell you, if you take somebody like that, if you continue this idea, you take somebody like that and you put them into a PhD program where it's very rigorous, you are completely out of control. As a matter of fact, you're under somebody's thumb for a protracted period of time.
Yes.
They're going to really cut you loose for probably about 2 years, more than likely, particularly when you start your research work, working on that dissertation, trying to drive toward that. And maybe he thought that he already knew everything when he showed up, and he didn't.
Well, it is like all these cases are, a sickening one. And, it's very difficult for people with a beating heart, no matter how much expertise they have to cover it, especially as long as it's been. But it's very important when a guy like you does answer all the questions on this stuff, as you've done beautifully today. But
thank you.
You know, also you've been doing this intermittently with all different details and news that would come out over the past 3 years, and it's like, it's important because I always say it like this. Unfortunately, you can't eliminate all evil in the world. That is the nature of humanity and this little spinning rock we live on. But if there's ways that, you know, small little ripples can lower the percentages over time, which statistically, by the way, we have seen that happen.
Yeah.
You know, it can help, and maybe there's one less of these.
And I hope so. I would hate to think that. And again, I'm very, very cynical that we're not going to see this happen again. I think that we will. It'll just be in a different mask because it's never going to stop. People that think that it is are off their rocker, because evil has always been with us. It will continue to be with us, and I've been documenting it my entire adult life. I see what's left behind in the wake. And, you know, Kohberger is, at this moment in time, he's in the news, but there will be somebody that will replace him, I can guarantee, that will live on in infamy. But hopefully we will have learned something. I don't know what yet, because it's all so freaking tragic along the way.
It always, it leaves changed lives, as we've said a million times today, in its wake. And I hope people don't lose sight of that. And again, that's why I appreciate how you handle this stuff. And it was clear that even the mother of Ethan Chapin appreciated that about you.
God bless her.
So,
I hope that she finds peace.
By the way, of all these families are incredibly strong to be able to deal with this and even talk about it. I can't fathom that. But that woman was...
if that had been...
Whoa.
If that had been me, I would still have been. This is only 6 months after the fact, I think.
Something like that.
Is some approximation. I would have been curled in a fetal position in the corner. There's no way I would have been upright and doing what she did. I couldn't take the measure of it at that moment in time. That was a room of 3,000 people when I was standing up there. And I just literally described what I believed at that time had occurred at the scene, and what, you know, from an evidentiary standpoint, the things that they would be looking for and all that, because people just really didn't know. We didn't have any information. And of course, I brought a K-bar along with me. And then, you know, you sit there, and then the mom steps up, and you're thinking, oh, my Lord in heaven, you know, I've just talked about this in front of her.
Hope I did a good enough job.
Yeah. Like, and I hope I was respectful.
Yeah. Well, you were. And I do have to say about her, what a strong lady. Of everyone in that James Patterson one on Amazon, man, she really just blew me away. I mean, obviously, she's a mom who lost her kid. She's gonna be in pain the rest of her life. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying, you know, she's over it at all.
I don't know if people realize that Ethan's a triplet.
Yeah, exactly.
He's one of three.
Yes, and so they're tied to, you know, they had the siblings in there too, and they're incredibly strong as well. But, you know, I could only imagine the hatred in my heart that I would have in that kind of position. And I don't think she has that. And I admire her for that.
Again, what she has stated that her and her husband are going to be doing on the 23rd is they're not going to be at the court.
That's right.
They're going out on their boat, which, you know, good on them. I'm happy for them, because that's where they will find peace. I think and there's several images out there of Ethan and Xana together on a boat. Mm-hmm. And I think that that's probably an appropriate way to, and far be it from me to tell them how to celebrate anything. I'm nobody compared to what they've gone through, but what a great way to, you know, kind of celebrate his life and put this beast in the deepest, darkest hole that we possibly can, and let us speak of him no more. And, you know, because I don't know that he has any value whatsoever to add to the conversation any further than after the 23rd. I hope that we're done with him forever and ever. Amen.
I hope so too. And I hope that, you know, whatever studying happens on him happens with the professionals behind closed doors with no cameras, so that he doesn't get any attention and doesn't get all the things that
and
I'm
I think
sure
he'll be
he wants.
craving that. I certainly do.
Of course. Thank you guys for checking out this clip. If you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe and hit the like button on this video. It is a huge, huge help. And if you'd like to check out this clip's full podcast episode, that link is in the description below or right here. And finally, you can follow me on Instagram and X by using the links in my description below.